All right, if you have ever worked with a product lifecycle management system, you know the feeling. That frustration. You're just trying to figure out this data model, but it feels like a total black box, right? Well, today, we're going to pry that box open and shed some serious light on the mystery inside. We're going to find a path to real clarity. So let me ask you straight up. Does your PLM data model feel like that black box? Are you and your teams constantly wrestling with a complex system, maybe something like Aras, where you just can't get a full picture of what's going on? Look, if you're nodding your head right now, trust me, you are not alone. It's this lack of clarity that creates all this friction, and it really slows the whole organization down. You know, that feeling comes from something we call the PLM visibility gap. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that giant chasm between what your system actually is and what your teams think it is. So the big question is, how does this gap actually impact your business? Well, it creates some really serious problems with visibility, team alignment, and, you guessed it, efficiency. Okay, so this visibility gap isn't just a vague concept. It leads to 5 very real, very core problems. First up, nobody has the big picture. I mean, how can you possibly make those first-time right decisions if you don't have a real-time view of everything? Second, you've got that classic disconnect between the business folks and the technical teams. This leads to out-of-sync documentation that's basically useless the second it's written. And what's the result of all that? 2 massive pain points. You're wasting your experts' time in these endless clarification meetings, and you're stuck with expensive, frustrating development rework. And look, these aren't just small, everyday annoyances. We're talking about a very real and very high cost. This confusion, it doesn't just waste a little bit of time, it is actively draining your budget. So let's really dig into the business impact here. Think about it. When you can't see the whole board, every single move is a gamble, right? That's what's happening here. You're being forced to make these huge strategic choices about your PLM environment completely in the dark, without all the information you need. And that, well, that is just a fundamentally risky way to run a business. And oh my gosh, the endless clarifications. Just picture the sheer amount of time that gets sucked into this black hole of back and forth between business and tech teams. I mean, just trying to figure out what the system is doing right now can turn into a full-time job of meetings and emails. It's pulling your best people away from the work they should be doing. Let's talk about your budget for your business experts. Are you constantly overshooting it? Because when your top people are spending their valuable hours in those clarification cycles, instead of, actually driving the business forward, that's a direct, painful hit to your bottom line. It's money walking right out the door. And this all leads to the big one: expensive rework. When requirements are incomplete and communication is totally broken, this is what you get. It literally means you are paying to build the same thing 2, maybe even 3 times, all because the teams weren't on the same page from the very beginning. Okay, but what if? What if you could just get rid of all these problems? What if there was a way to just slice right through all of that confusion and finally stop that painful cycle of rework? Well, it's time to introduce the solution to all this chaos. This really sums up the huge shift we're talking about. You're moving away from that old world, the one with endless rework and misalignment, and into a whole new way of working, a process that's all about clarity and getting things right the first time. It is a complete game changer. So, what's the tool that makes this all possible? It's the PLM Data Model Canvas. At its heart, it's a dedicated piece of software. It was designed from the ground up for one specific job: to completely transform how you see, how you understand, and how you manage your RS data model. And let's be clear, this is not some temporary fix or a clumsy workaround. It is a purpose-built solution. Okay, so that sounds great, but how does it actually do it? How does it work? Let's walk through the process that takes you from all that chaos we talked about to a state of total, beautiful clarity. It's all about 3 simple but really powerful steps. First, it connects live directly to your Aras environment. And this is absolutely critical because it means the information you're seeing is always 100% accurate, not based on some document from 6 months ago. Then, step 2, it takes that live data and generates a dynamic, interactive visualization. We're talking no more static, outdated diagrams. You can actually explore the real model as it exists right now. And finally, step 3, this visual model becomes your shared source of truth. It's what gets everyone aligned because the business teams and the tech teams are, for the first time, literally looking at the same page.
Thanks, Tiffany, for the quick introduction of Rabbit PLM Data Model Canvas concept. And now I will give you the detailed demo of PLM Data Model Canvas. So as a user, I logged into my Aras Rabbit. And once I logged in, I can connect to an existing Aras environment, which is out of the box. I can start expanding my data model from there. So I have already created my credentials here. Then with that, I will start defining my data model. So today we will deep dive onto how we can develop the solution first time right, how we can design the data model first time right. The first thing that I need to do is I need to select the project on which I am working on from my ALM system, and then I will select which stream, what is the work package inside that. And once I do that, I can either define a new data model or I can extend the existing data model. In today's scenario, what we're going to demonstrate is how I will be extending the existing data model of part item type. So we have configured the Aras OOTP, and then once we have configured, we can live fetch from the system what the data model looks like. So the current data model is part is inside the center of it, and with part there are alternates, bones, AML, get document, so on and so forth relationships are there. Each relationship are represented by a small box, and then there is again what item type is connected with that relationship can be visualized. If I want to add any new relationship, I can select the box, I can select the part. Here I want to, let's suppose I want to add a child, and that child should be the raw material. So I will add a relationship. And with that, I can either define a new item type or I can select the existing item type. So here I want to create a new item type. So I will say create a new item type called raw material. And that's how I am defining that there is a new relationship to be added on top of the part. For example, I want to add an existing child. It should be a change. So any change which is happening with the part, I want to see that, and then I would say add existing, and here I want to add ECN. Okay. So here I will say add ECN, then it connects to the existing item type inside the Aras, which is ECN. Now let's see what kind of properties which are there on the part item type. So I want to see that what are all the properties. I want to modify one of the existing properties. So I will select the part box, and then here I can see all the configuration of the part which should be there on top of the data model. And here we have the cost, which is a decimal property. In system, I want to make this property as required. So what I will do is I will select here and say make it required. And here we can see the modification source in the yellow. Let's suppose I want to add a new property. So here I can select plus, and then I can define what property that I want to add. I want to add a specific gravity. So name of the property and then the label. And then type of the property is string. It's in this property, and I can see whatever the new property is added is visible at the top. I want to add an automation on top of the part, which is like on after update of the part, the weight should be calculated. I have mentioned my requirement. I'm saying add this. And then I can say I can see there is a new server event that needs to be created on top of this particular part. I can also expand the existing tree inside the entire structure that I'm seeing. So let's suppose that in the part requirement document, I want to see that what is the below structure of the requirement document. Inside that we have the further requirements. So if I want to work at this level, I can also work at this level. I can define the properties of these different items. and I can define my data model, how it connects back to the entire system. All these changes which we are making on top of this PLM Data Model Canvas, it is visible and it is stored and converted automatically into the precise requirement that developer can read, understand, and deliver. This all requirement can be exported into the CSV, or this can be further put it down into your ALM system, which we have connected in the start of the demo. That's all for today's demo. You can save your changes. Thank you for checking out the demo of Rabbit Suite. It was the first tool of the solutioning part of the entire software development lifecycle. To know more about Rabbit Suite, check out the description below.